Yeah, you did a great job, and you know, in seeing the movie, I hadn't seen a lot of the scenes that you did as the butcher, and you're scary, and you're also badass.
Hi, I'm Chris Landon.
I'm Vaughn.
And I'm Kathryn Newton, and we're going to break down some of the scenes from our movie,
Freaky.
Where the hell did you learn how to do that?
Dad was an Eagle Scout.
Found these.
This is actually one of the rare and few scenes in the movie where all of our characters are actually together in one place. Millie is trying to convince Booker that she is not the butcher, that she's Millie, that she's stuck inside his body. And it's this great comedic beat because the butcher is now using this body that he's in to play a role, to play this sort of like innocent victim and don't believe him. We've got Vince kind of stuck in this really tricky spot where, you know, he's trying to convince Booker of something that's clearly impossible.
Vince, you just killed the scene. I remember because you just went, Vince was improvising, and that's why the scene is so good. You just went off. You remember?
I remember playing around with it, but I also remember how kind of like mean you were. I remember like I did this whole like vulnerable speech, and you kind of humiliated me and called me a name, and you did it in such a kind of cruel, like really cruel way. Don't you remember that?
Of course I remember that.
He's even gorgeous when he's unconscious. Hey. Jesus Christ. Easy, easy, easy. It's okay. It's okay. Look, I know I look like the butcher, but it's Millie. This is gonna sound really strange.
Booker, look at me. He's crazy.
Okay, Booker, can you look at me, please? Please? Booker, please, can you look at me just for a second?
The way you use your hands in this, I'm like, I don't know, is it insulting? Is that how I talk? Is that what I do?
No, I think it's like that thing you kind of get grounded and committed to the characters, and then when you're listening and trying to actively get someone to listen,
Yeah.
It just sort of comes out.
Yeah.
So I think it was more kind of the stuff that we worked on and talked about, and then you're just in that moment, you're like really trying to get this guy that you like not to freak out and to pay attention, and you
Right.
go urgent with it. Okay, so last night, our consciousness or our spirit, whatever you want to call it, okay, it traded places.
She's telling the truth.
So he stabbed me with the Dola, which is like this ancient mystical dagger. And now I have like less than 6 hours to swap back or I'm gonna be stuck in his body forever.
Vince really improvises quite a bit in this scene. It works on so many different levels because he's both showing how Millie is nervous and afraid and desperate to convince this kid of who she is, but also like she's facing her crush. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because I feel like everyone has their moment. And the scene starts out in this place that's sort of a little bit mysterious, then it kind of veers into something that's a bit more comedic in tone, but then it actually pivots into something that is more serious because Millie finally figures out a way to convince Booker that she's really stuck in this body, but in doing so, she has to reveal something that's a little bit embarrassing about herself.
Well, it was really the three of us. I think we just we talked internally what was going on and finding, you know, backstories that we were sharing. And then it became about finding physical manifestations of things that the characters would do that came from an internal place. And so we kind of had a common language that we sort of tried to get unconscious with so that as you're listening and playing in scenes, you just sort of would react, you know, in character.
I mean, the rehearsal in the beginning, it just made me feel really confident that on the day, I knew my butcher was going to be Vince's butcher. Like just having like a little bit of rehearsal and having like one thing to kind of ground yourself, whether it's like my posture or the way I run when I'm Millie, and just those little things like that make you really confident that we're gonna have a seamless switch when we go back and forth. You're all going to jail for this. You too, Booker, unless you help me. Booker!
Dry up, bitch.
Booker, help! Booker!
Will you shut up?
I got so inspired like, watching you. I think the end when I was like, Booker, please, please, and started being like a teenage girl. I don't know. I just really went for it.
Yeah, you did a great job, and you know, in seeing the movie, I hadn't seen a lot of the scenes that you did as the butcher, and you're scary, and you're also badass.
You know, what's interesting and fun about this movie is that, you know, both actors have to play two roles. And so when we were creating The Butcher, Michael Kennedy, my writing partner on this movie, we both wanted to create sort of like the ultimate sort of like killing machine. And, you know, we really wanted to reach back to the 80s, you know, and reference a lot of the classic slasher films that we both sort of have grown up watching and have loved. Our inspiration, of course, Drew, was drawn from, you know, Halloween and Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. But we also wanted to make our own iconic killer. And so The Butcher, you know, is that classic silent killing machine. And then for Millie, you know, we wanted Millie to sort of be a modern final girl in the sense that that she has a really defined character arc. You know, when we meet her, she's shy, she's introverted, she's unsure of herself, and over the course of the movie, by inhabiting somebody else's body, she really starts to discover who she really is, which is kind of the fun of the swap, so that by the time she hopefully gets back into her body, she's a more confident, more sort of fully realized, authentic person.
Look, I know this is crazy, okay? And there's a lot of voices competing. You see my friends, you know, Nyla and Joss, and they're on my side, okay? And this is clearly not me. Have you ever seen me dressed like that? I mean, I kind of like a lot of what he's doing with it, but it's the point is that you've never seen me dressed like that, right? Do you like that? It doesn't matter. I feel like I'm giving you a lot of information, and you literally just woke up. Whew. You look great.
I think the key to balancing comedy and horror is to make sure that you're using something to ground both of those elements, to unify them. And so, I mean, I really just look to the characters first, because if we are engaged and invested in the character from the beginning of the movie, then I think we can kind of ride those different tones a little bit more freely, because you just want to see what happens to these people. And so that's usually sort of like the first way to unify the two. I'm just a big fan of mashing up genres, and it's not for everyone. Some people don't like their horror and their comedy mixed together, but I've always loved it. And so for me, it just feels very comfortable to put the two of those together.
Whoa, what am I wearing?
If you get recognized, we are screwed.
I can't see shit. How do killers do this? Oh, sorry. Oh, that's your face. Okay.
Head over to Fandango.
For more on our new movie, Freaky.